So, in case anyone was wondering, today Yeet Fighter was released as a download by Kraz Productions for your Atari VCS. If you have the new online modern Atari VCS system, it's available as a download. Hopefully you'll consider getting it and giving it a try. Pushes the limits of the Atari 2600. It does graphics that have never been seen before on the system. I'm really happy with it. There was an adventure though, of course. There's got to be an adventure. He got in touch with me, and it had been a while. It had been, I think, maybe a month, almost a month since we talked about it. And I was worried. I was like, is this even happening right? And right about the time I started worrying, like my last video actually, he says, we're ready to do this. And he said, it eventually was a 36-hour like kind of a buffer there before it was going out for sale. So I mean, I was really feeling the nerves up to that point. He was doing final play testing and was like, okay, we have a couple little things, right? And he's naming off these little things. So I had to dig around the code, and I ended up doing some final refinements to the code before it was ready to release. Really happy with it, the way it turned out. But I'll be talking about that today, the refinements that had to be made to it. We'll look at the game and just kind of see the state that it's in right now. It's better than it's ever been, and he actually helped me out a lot. Now my son and I play tested the game incessantly, and I play tested it so much that I was pretty sure that everything was good, but this was for play on a emulator, so I really wasn't 100% sure what to expect. I don't have the modern internet capable VCS system. I mean, I plan on getting one day, but I'm not made of money. I don't have the money to even get one. They're not too expensive though. I think they're $100 or something like that. They are they're nice. They have like Xbox style controllers, and then they have a retro style controller. They have downloadable games that are from Atari. So I think recently they released a 3D Bubsy game that looked really good. Some people don't like Bubsy, but I'll tell you one game that my kids all really loved while growing up when they were little was Bubsy. They all loved it, like all of my kids. I have a cabinet that I made that has a Sega Genesis in it. They have free reign over whatever cartridges to play, and I'd let them play. They saw all the games, Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Afterburner, Phantasy Star, stuff like that. And when they were really little, there were 3 games that they always loved to play. The first one was Bubsy, either Bubsy 1 or 2, or Wacky Worlds, the Creativity Studio, or Fun and Games, which is another creativity studio with painting and stuff like that. So Bubsy's cool. I mean, it's weird. There's an effect about it, I think, with Bubsy, where the further you get from the time when the game was lauded as a kind of a failure, the easier it is to take a second look at it. Right? And that's how it is with a lot of things, like Neo Geo games, right? You might be addicted to Capcom, and so everything has to look like Capcom, everything has to have that type of artwork, and so you might look at Neo Geo games and think, oh, well, they just don't have the same appeal as Capcom, right? Because Capcom has all these awesome looking, they're like the Disney of video games. That's what I think of when I think of Capcom. And so maybe when you look at Neo Geo, it doesn't seem it's not as unique. It doesn't have that same flair. Well, then as time gets away from Capcom's dominance, or at least in the field of two-dimensional fighting games, which are essentially dead now, their games get more appealing. And now when I look at Neo Geo, I just think that's the best stuff. I love King of Fighters, I love Metal Slug, I love League Bowling and Last Resort, and those are the most awesome looking games, and they really are just a cut above everything else. But at the time, Neo Geo was like, whatever, it's they're in their own little world. And people don't have any problem with Nintendo being in their own little world, But SNK, you know, who are they? They're asking for $700 or $800 just to get started, right? We're going to look at Yeet Fighter the way it is now and just check it all out. Black mirror. So, we're going to go over some of the changes to Yeet Fighter. Okay, the first thing that happened was he said, hey, I've got this problem. The death animation is getting stuck at the end of a match. And so what was happening is when you would win, the death animation would just continually run, and it wouldn't get to the next match. And so I was like, oh God, that's really bad. I've never heard of it happening before. All the play testing we did, it never happened. So I said, okay, this is about to get released. I'm going to go ahead and check it out. So I check it out. The code is actually wrong, right? And I'm looking over my code, and I had actually tested it myself, okay, because it was in the spot where the code recognizes your match as a draw in a versus match. And so I figured it's really important, right, to be able to get a draw to happen. And so I looked in the code. Now, there is no way that the code was the way that it was. It's like sabotage or something. I even told him, I said, the only way this could have happened is like gremlins or something supernatural. I was like, I have no idea how this happened. But I did fix it, sent it back to him. Okay, it was fixed. And then he says, okay, well, it's hard to push the buttons. Like I've noticed that I'm pushing the buttons, and it takes, like, I have to push extra hard to get anything to happen. So then I go in the code and I speed up all of the interactions. I basically have a slight amount of time when you press the button and then things happen. Okay, it's important for the video game so that it's not just grabbing at everything immediately. Whenever you play a video game, believe it or not, you're not just, you know, hitting a button and then immediately something happens. It's quite often that it takes a second for things to happen. So you're sometimes programming that in. So I programmed a short period of time in between the button press and the thing happening. Now, remember, I programmed this game with hardware in mind. So I'm testing it on actual Atari systems with the Sega Genesis pad. I'm not having the problems. But then, after I had halved the amount of time it took for responses, I noticed the game did play better. So I left it that way, of course. I sent it to him. Then he says, okay, I'm punching this character and kicking him over and over again, and I'm kicking him like 14 times. It's not doing anything. And I'm like, oh God, what's wrong now? Right? Like, what could possibly be wrong? So then I go in and check out that, and I noticed that what I think's happening in their emulator is that there are two frames always happening in my game, and they're overlapping to create what's going on the screen. So we'll go ahead and start this up in two-player mode real quick. So I'm realizing that what must be happening is that the collision detection that's part of the second frame isn't being seen, and so it's like catching the original frame. So I went ahead and put some additional collision detection in the first frame to ensure that your attacks land, and so you don't have that problem. So we can see now there's a custom font that I drew, and that's what is at the bottom of the screen. I went ahead and used a squished font that is part of the text mini kernel, and it helps to free up some cycle timing room for your program, and it also gives you cute little fonts and I redrew them. So these are my own custom drawn numerals, and I'm controlling both of them. Now, the original problem was that the special move was too hard to do. That's the special move. I just did it twice in a row, 3 times. Okay, I changed how the special move is done, the hardest special move, so that there shouldn't be any problems doing them now. There it is again. Okay. So, several refinements to the code have taken place. And so I think the game is nearly perfect now. Now the part with the the looping of the death animation is just totally bizarre. Like, I really told him, I said, I have no explanation for it other than supernatural, because the code was actually wrong. And in a way that was causing the error. There are 2 variables that decide which player gets their round counter to go up 1 notch, and then there's a variable that prepares it to look at a winning match, to judge how long to wait in between screens before it loads the next scene. And both of those variables were wrong, and in a way that was making it so to win the match it would like loop the death animation over and over again, which is obviously it's wrong. But there's no way that that could have happened. See, there's the draw screen, a draw. There's no way that that could have happened the way that I had it, because I was testing it. I mean, I was playing this game on a television, on hardware, on the emulator, all the time. When I programmed that draw screen, like you just saw, I tested it many times over and over again, making sure it would work. And I was winning matches. Once you win a match, it takes you back to the title screen. So we're talking about things in code that I could not have happened. So I have no idea how that actually happened. It feels like sabotage. I told him it was gremlins. I said gremlins must have reprogrammed that. So the next thing I did after that was I went through all of my code and I shrunk and refined and changed a few things around too, with the changes that I'd made that he recommended. This was all over the past day, okay, just because the deadline was today, because the game is out today. Yeet Fighter, unless something catastrophically failed between late last night and early this morning, should be available for your online Atari VCS modern system as a download. Now this will happen continuously because the draw does not award you a point in the match. So in the versus mode, a draw condition does not award a point to either player. In the 1-player mode, it actually does. There is no draw. It will award the player with the highest energy, or one or the other will win no matter what. So, but in the versus mode, the draw means nobody won. And so it keeps going. So this should, in effect, keep on going ad infinitum until it decides, until it has a imbalance of power on one side or the other. So if I go over here with Angel here and give her a couple kicks, now if I back up, Angel should now win, of course. Now, I also told him, and this is a subject to consider. How many times have you seen a game, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, that comes into mind. These are games that were programmed by hundreds of people. You ever watch the scroll at the end of one of those games when you beat it? How many people are involved in those games? It is hundreds. It might even be 1,000. It's ridiculous. It's like watching a movie scroll, right? It keeps scrolling, but at the same time, there are still places in the game where you can break clipping and go through a wall where you shouldn't be able to, skip entire levels, you can break the game. So even with hundreds of people involved, even with professional playtesters, even with all of those things considered, that it is a multi-million-dollar video game company with a professional production, there are still glitches and bugs and things that can be taken advantage of. And so it is virtually impossible for me to make an absolutely perfect video game. And you know, when you play a Nintendo game, there were several programmers usually involved, and the game still may have exploits, glitches, errors, and things. But as far as the game goes, you can fight in it, you can beat the game, you can win it, you can do versus mode, you can pick any character, one side versus the other, and all the moves work. They're easier to do, there's faster button presses now. The game is, for all intents and purposes, in a final mode, a final condition. Okay, so this is the release of, and it's the online release, and it will be thoroughly tested on hardware to see how it compares to the older hardware release, to see if, and I'm sure this will be the final version of it, at least, you know, as it becomes perfected. So this is the final form, and now I might change code gradually over the future and then make, you know, different versions of it. So this is, you know, I guess, whatever, 0.0, and then if I change something from this point on, then it's going to be 0.1, right? And they did that with Nintendo games and with all video games. They made it, they had consumer response, or they had their own internal responses, and then they would change things. And then they'd say, oh, what version of the game do you have? I have version, like with Resident Evil 2 Remake. Oh, we have DirectX 11. Well, now we have DirectX 12. Now we have DirectX 12 with ray tracing, right? So I am one man, and I programmed everything here. I drew the graphics, I wrote the music, I programmed the music, I programmed the game, I play tested the game, and then my son, my 11-year-old now, he's 11, he helped me play test this when he was 10, because I've been programming this for over a year. He play tested it too. And the problems in emulation are more prevalent than on real hardware. Like, we noticed that on real hardware, it didn't seem like you had to press the buttons too hard. It didn't seem like the game was too difficult. The whole, like, infinite death loop thing, that never happened on real hardware. Somewhere after the finalizing of the real hardware version of the game, and then the concentrated effort to get it published online, somewhere in the middle there, something went wrong in that code. And there's absolutely no way for it to have happened from me. Because when I'm coding it, and I'm testing it, and I'm coding it, and I'm testing it, and then I save it, and it's sitting there ready to be used, I'm not going to change the code in there. It's done. And I actually back up code, and then I save my code to 4 other computers that are also never online. They all have Visual Basic ready to use, and that's to make sure that if anything catastrophically fails on my work computer, I can immediately carry on the work on a different computer. So as far as play testing and backing up and securing and assuring that my work is steadfast, what actually happened seems impossible to me. Like, someone would have had to change 2 lines of code that screwed up the entire game. And it's not something I would have done. So Yeet Fighter is out there. I encourage anyone who wants to try a Atari game that's like no other Atari game before it, a homage, parody of Street Fighter games with characters that are based off of traditional King of Fighters, Mark of the Wolf, Fatal Fury, Street Fighter 2 characters, Street Fighter Alpha. As you can see, we have Dragon. We also have Angel, Master, Soldier, Oni, which is Japanese for demon, And then we have, I guess, what's her name? Fairy? Yeah. Okay, we have Dancer, Wolf, Butterfly, and Rocker for the other school. These are all, you know, a couple of them are original. Okay, one error that he had was fun. It was funny. He said in this, he sent me a video and he goes, it is changing characters and jumping to a different background. And he said, and I don't, obviously that's not supposed to happen. So he sends me this video and I said back to him, okay, where in this video is that happening? Because I don't know what you're even talking about. He says, okay, 5 minutes into the video. I go 5 minutes into the video, right? And the background looks different, it does. But everything is single color. The character sprites are all single colored. And the player character, the one that he's playing as, looks like a single color dragon. You know, the one based off of Ryu, okay? And he's fighting against another character, right? And the background has some like blocky looking stuff in it. Then all of a sudden, the Ryu character turns into Soldier. And the background turns into the helicopter background, right? And it's like, oh man, this is an error, it's terrible, what's happening? And I immediately know what's happening. He's not blending the graphics, because I was telling him, and this is for everyone else who might be viewing, this game on an emulator has to be played with phosphor mode on. And I recommend 77% phosphor. It imitates CRT display. Where some people say it may cause graphics to shimmer or flicker, it is absolutely required to blend the graphics of my video games, because I combine 2 layers of playfields, backgrounds, and sprites to create the multicolored display that's happening in my game. If you don't blend the graphics, you'll just end up with one single colored sprite and a single colored background. It won't look right. What was actually happening was all of the characters on the left side are using one frame of the dragon or the Ryu lookalike character's graphics. So half of her graphics is the Ryu character, and then there's one frame that is a custom art to create that character. So as I cycle through them, he's obviously that way, but he has a slight difference. He has a different colored headband. He has a little gap in his shirt. He's the same, but he has a coloring that goes over his body to make his pants look bigger, to make it look like he has boots on. He has a missile to make his eyes look thinner and to make his hair look spiked up. But behind that character is the first single color Ryu or dragon graphic. Same with Master, same with her, same with Angel. So all of them are half of the Ryu dragon character's graphics. Okay, now I don't do that with the other side. The other side are recolors of the 2 characters. But the ninja that you fight against in the 1-player mode of the game, when you play the left side characters as your characters, when you play as this side, the ninjas are combinations of one frame of each graphics with their own colors. So I'm doing a very similar method, and the reason for this is to fit as much graphics as I can in a roughly 3 kilobytes or so of ROM space. This bank switching effect affords me a bank dedicated solely to graphics, and there's a small overhead to be able to store and move the graphics around. What you end up with is just under 3,000 bytes, roughly 3K or a little more. They say it's 4K, but you end up with less than 4K to work with. And this is a 32K cartridge. So one of those banks, because of the bank switching method, can be used to hold as much graphics as possible. But we're talking about less than 4 kilobytes of graphics to make all of the graphics in this video game. Okay, so the characters are On the left side, one frame all from the dragon character that's meant to look like Ryu, and then the second frame is a custom frame for that character that defines them. And you know, the hair on the girl, the flesh tone, the bare legs, the boots that go up, the higher boots, those are all the custom frame, but then the shape that's behind it is the dragon frame. And so that was necessary, and it was kind of a, you know, a trick. It was a trick to get more graphics out of the game. If I didn't do it, then I'd just be stuck with a handful of, you know, Ryu look-alike characters for the game. Okay, so code's done, the game is done, it's ready for a download. Yeet Fighter. Look it up if you own a Atari VCS online capable system, the modern VCS. It should be available as a download today, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching my videos. I'm programming more games. The newer games are going to be able to be made into cartridges easily. That doesn't mean they won't also be downloads that are available somehow. And I'm hoping to just keep on making games for as many systems, as many types of games as I can. And you know, I really thank anyone who watches and comments. People who tell me my game's awesome, that's everything. My son, when my son found out his name was listed with the game, his face lit up. He was so happy because he helped play test the game. And so when Kraz Productions, I don't know if it's pronounced Kraz or Kraz, we're talking about text communication between me and the guy that's sending it to them for publication. When he put up the information through Facebook for it, he listed that it was by Jason and Nick Carraway. Nick's my son, so that's my son being mentioned for his huge amount of input and play testing, and he helped too. I mean, whenever I would say, hey, should I do this or should I do this, and he'd say, oh, you should do this. So he helped me too. He would say, this is what I think we should do, or whatever. I mean, it's invaluable to have a second person there helping you to come up with stuff. Because, you know, when you're there doing your work, right, you get goggles, you get tinted glasses, so to speak. So, you know, I'm looking at it, and okay, like if you ever noticed when you go away from your house, right, and then you come back, and you've been gone for maybe 3 days or something, you smell your house, right? Or when you haven't eaten for 2 days for whatever reason, and then you eat food and you taste the food like it tastes better. You're noticing taste. That's how it is when you program your own video game. You can play it, but that doesn't mean other people can play it. You think it looks good, but you're the one that made it and drew it, so your eyes and your mind understand what's going on with it. But then when you go away from it, and time passes, and maybe days pass, and then you go back and then you look at it again and you go, wait a minute, that doesn't look good. I can't play this. What is this crap? That can happen. And so having a second person that has input, just having that second person that's a fresh perspective on it really helps a lot. A person to play the game is absolutely essential, because as a designer, as a programmer, you're making the game, you can play it. That does not mean other people can play it. As the drawer of the artwork, you see what it is. You think it looks good. You think your kid looks great, right? Someone else will come up and say your kid looks like a dog, right? That's how this is. Now, Nick thinks my game looks great because he's played a ton of Atari games, so he already knows that you don't see games that look like this on the Atari. It's just not common. But he also really likes the game, and he's beaten it and played it through. We did tons of versus matches. He was invaluable in the creation of the game for side opinions and considering he's a kid. You know, what does a kid today like and thinks is cool? And he likes the game and thinks it's cool. But I'm really happy that the guy who's helping me produce this put my son's name up there next to mine too, because that means the world to me and to him, and he deserves it. You know, he really does. And so if you buy the game, you're hooking me up a little bit, and you're helping out the cause of Homebrew, and also some of the more radical, eccentric efforts of Homebrew. Like, I'm not making another Pac-Man clone. I'm not making another Donkey Kong clone. I'm not remaking some game from the past that you love, like Ladybug or Pole Position or something. That's all great, and those guys are wonderful for doing that. You know, I'm not knocking Bob DiCrescenzo or any of the other guys who are remaking amazing games like Pac-Man and Beef Drop, which is Burger Time, or any of those games. But my efforts are not to offer you the same thing for the system. I want to offer something new. And yes, this is essentially just another Street Fighter clone. That's true. But it's the first one for the Atari 2600. It's the only Atari 2600 game that looks and sounds the way that it does. And it's using a method of game creation that is so far unique to me. And I've only seen maybe one other artist use methods like this in game creation with the Atari 2600. So this is in my opinion, it's a special game. And the people out there that bought the game, contact me and I will give you a free copy of the revised video game. I said this in the last video game. It's a better game. It plays better, looks better. If there were any errors in the game that I gave you that I didn't weed out, I apologize. There was a ton of play testing done, and there was no way for me to know that my code was different somehow. That is something where I have no idea how it happened. Again, my excuse is gremlin sabotage and that it was supernatural. But it is fixed as much as I can fix it so far. And as error reports might come in or glitch or bug reports might come in, then I can try to address those issues and have newer versions of the game that repair those things, much like any game has to go through that, in the past or in the modern video game world. I'm not 100% perfect, and I'm doing my best to bring this game to the masses. And just to think that people might be partying and drinking a beer and having a match between each other in Yeet Fighter, as the game that I made, that was my goal. Originally, I'd considered even just making it a two-player fighting game without any story mode. But then I realized, no, this has to be a game that otaku basement nerds can play by themselves because they have no friends. It has to be something I can play. Anyway, thanks a lot, and check it out. Check out Yeet Fighter. It is available today online.